All right, guys, welcome. I'm back today, and sorry for last week. I was really busy and I could not connect with you guys. So today, like I said, we're gonna work on performance tuning and monitoring. Let me share my screen.
And just for information, Ariel and evidence, the job description has a lot of performance tuning. So you might have to take it a little bit of time to digest what Serge is saying because you might need it all.
Okay,
Okay. Thank
let
you.
me know if you can see my screen. Okay, guys. 2 weeks ago, we talked about some system resource. This was what we talked about. We said in our computer, we have this, we have CPU, we have the RAM, and we said there is a component which is the data engine. But in your computer, you have RAM, GPU, CPU. And at the end, I said, those resources need to be monitored. But how do we monitor this? Why do we monitor this? This is what we're going to be talking about today. So coming to this, what we are talking today, so in your computer, even without installing SQL Server, you have some monitoring tools. One of them is what is performance monitor, also known as PerfMon. Then you have the second one, which is a task manager, and the third one is event viewer. So with PerfMon, there are so many metrics that you can monitor. Things like CPU, memory, disk, network, so many of them. And how do I get on that? So then I know you guys have been working on this, but just like repeating. I right click on this, I go to computer management, and this is how I can get to my task manager. This is where, no task manager, sorry. This is how you can get to your performance monitor. There are so many things that you can monitor inside here. So if I double click on this, go to add, then you will see all the metrics in here. You guys can play with that. You can see a lot of metrics here that you can add in your counter that you can monitor. There are so many of them. I will not just go through that. You guys can go and I know you guys have maybe already checked on this, but this is how I can get some metrics that I want to monitor. And then you say, if I drop here, get some metrics, I will add it to the cache, to the counter, and then later.
We can't see what you're doing.
We're only seeing the OneNote.
The OneNote?
Yes, we're seeing the OneNote document.
Probably we are not seeing what you're demonstrating on Task Manager.
Yes, you're not sharing your screen. You're probably sharing an app.
Let me see. Let me stop sharing first and share it back. Okay. You are seeing OneNote, right? If I scroll up and down, can you see it?
Yes, we see that OneNote. Yes, we're seeing that.
Okay.
But you were showing something on Task Manager that we're not seeing.
Yeah, I was showing. Okay, let me right click. If I right click there, can you see what I'm doing now?
No.
Computer management.
No.
Computer management here.
No, I think that you are sharing.
You're sharing the wrong screen, Serge.
No, he's not sharing the wrong screen, but he's sharing but an app. So if you stop sharing again, stop sharing.
Okay, let me stop sharing.
Stop sharing. Okay, when you click to share, don't select any application, just select the screen.
Yeah, that's what I did. Let me see.
Yeah. Just make sure that you select just the...
Okay. Let's see.
Let's see.
I see where the problem is. Okay.
There you go.
Can you see this?
Yes, there you go. We can see now.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, so I was trying out, so I was just talking to myself. So yeah, I was saying that to get to the performance monitor, you right click here, you go to computer management, and it's taking some time. And then you can expand this event viewer. This is how you can get to the performance monitor. You can double click here, go to add, and this is where you can select all the metrics that you need to add. So I will not take too much time on this because we have a lot to cover. But this is where you can drop down, get all the metrics that you will like to add and monitor. So this is one of the tools that we use to monitor our memory, CPU, jigs, network, a lot of other metrics. The second monitor tools that we can use is Task Manager. There are different ways you can use that. You can get to that. You can right click here and click on Task Manager, or you can just go to search and just tap Task Manager. Just click on it. And here I can see my CPU, my memory, my disk, and there are different ways I can work. If I want to see my memory, my disk, I can click here and then you see, I can see how they are behaving. So this is a second tool. This is the one that I use the most, Task Manager. So easy. When there is issue, performance issue, you can quickly come here to see how your memory is performing, your CPU are performing. So really, it's really easy to get to that and really easy to quickly, that's the first thing you can start by doing when you start feeling some kind of issue in your environment. Event Viewer is really good also as a tool, but this is mostly used, I mostly use this Event Viewer. Let us say your SQL Server is down. When SQL Server is down, then you can actually use this easily and you get it the same way as I show here, computer management. This is Event Viewer. So here you can get there, you have log. There are different ways you can check for the system issues, security issue, application issue. This is where you can get easily go there. If you have an ID of the issue you have, you can just put it there. I don't want to I will not have enough time to demonstrate because this is something you can do one after another. You can go on YouTube and try to take each of these and try to know how you can use that to figure out on the issue. But I'm just trying to let you know that those are the tools that you can use in SQL. You can use on the OS level to find out on some issue that you have in your environment. So as far as OS level, we have these three tools. Now let us go to SQL Server. So when you install SQL Server now will come with so many other tools. One of them is what? SQL Server Performance Dashboard. You have SQL Server Profiler. You have SQL Server External Event, Dynamic Management View, SQL Server Activity Monitors, SQL Server Query Store, Error Log. SQL_root itself is active. It's not really, it does not really come with SQL Server. It is something that you just go online, you can get that and install. And this is really helpful. I always have that in my environment. You can have SP Wuchu, you can have execution plan. All this come when you install SQL Server. So if I just quickly start with performance dashboard, let me share my screen. Let me open SQL Server. So performance dashboard, how do I get to that? Let me do this. You see, right click here, if I go to report, standard, this is where you get to the performance dashboard. There are so many other metrics that you can get here. But let me stop on this performance dashboard. When I click on performance dashboard, what do I see? You can see here that I can see my system CPU utilization. I can see my elapsed time, my CPU time, my wait time, my cache. So I can get all this. I can even see my expensive queries. And just look at this. Right now, how is my screen looking like? Green. If somebody said you have performance issue and you open performance and you open this performance dashboard and it's looking green, you don't have any issue. Because when you have issue like blocking, wait task, stop, those type of issue, just gonna show blue. Let us just take that example. I will run this to insert. Here I'm inserting. Okay, here I'm inserting around billion of row. to the table. Try to insert along a billion row in the table. And it's starting taking time to insert. If I go back here and I check on my performance dashboard, it has not yet shown here now because it's still, we're going to be doing something else. By the time to just give him some time, to start feeling like, because he has not yet like take enough time, but by like after like 1-2 minutes, we come back and you see how this will show on the screen. If I go to the second, let me go do the second thing. Let's just say I have my second instance. On this table, I will run this update. I run this update. I start with begin tran. Okay, if I first check this, let me check this. You guys will see what I have here. How is my screen looking like? It's looking well. Okay, let us go back then and run this begin tran. I run begin tran, but I did not commit yet. I have not yet committed. And then I will try to read. I will try to read data on that same table, which is gonna create blocking. So if I run this will keep running and they're gonna create a blocking. If I come back now and try to check on my performance dashboard, because we have a blocking, you see how it will show down. It should blue. And then if I come here and I check I can check my CPU. You see how is here we can already get this. This is a way I can actually see this. Then another thing that I actually like on this is that, let me just quickly come back. If you want to know what is actually going on here, I will right click here, just click here, system performance may be degraded because of the excessive weight. If I click on this, what we see, there is a blocking chain. You can see it here. And then if I go down, what am I seeing here? There is user transaction read committed. I mean, you can see here. If I click on this is telling me that here you can see that this section has blocked. You can see the section that has blocked. You can see who run this. You can get all the information about the blocking. So if I click on the second one, you can see here that what is the status of this query? This the query that has blocked is suspended. This is the status of this. In the interview, they will ask you, when you are talking about blocking, they will ask, did you check the status of the blocking? Because you check the status, you want to know if that query is suspended, is running, or those are how you can see it. So now if I come down, one thing I want to know here is what the type of web. There are so different type of web. This is SCKMS, which is one of the type of web. Now, if I click on the blocking session ID here, which is 60, then query test statistic. No, just know what I'm looking. Just quickly, let me come back. What I want you guys to understand here is that query. What I want you guys to understand here is that performance dashboard is one of the tools that can really help you on quickly spot on issue. So if you go here and I notice that this is blue, that can already tell my attention there's something. And then if I click on that and there's a blocking, I can identify a blocking. If it's just a wet, then I can also identify it from here. Maybe let me come back on this. If I come back on this other instance and check, maybe it will be already showing since it's been running for some time. And not yet. Not yet again. We're going to leave it again for some time. So actually here, I was just trying you guys to see one of the tools that we can use to troubleshoot, to know if we have any performance issue. So this is about performance dashboard. Other thing that we can use that I'm talking here is what? SQL Server Profiler. So SQL Server Profiler is one other tool that you can use to track so many issues that we can have. Some of those can be the slow query, excessive resource, usage, performance bottleneck, and it can capture something like a SQL statement, stop, procedure call, error, logs, blocking, and deadlock. So SQL Server Profiler, how do we get to that? Let me just show you how we come here to tool, and this is where you get SQL Server Profiler. Actually, when I click on it, I need to choose, actually here I have two servers. I need to choose which server I'm trying to connect on, and I connect. And then I will put the name, because I'm doing a trace. I will put the name test, for example. And then I will want to choose whether I want to save it as a file or on table. I usually, in my environment, I always use table, because after that, I can go to the table and analyze. But you can also use, some people will use file. And when you use file, you need to define where you want that to store. You will choose where you want it to store. And I don't know if I need to go through the process, but I know you guys talk about that in class. But this is SQL Server Profiler that you can use. And those files that you get and that you store, later on, what do you do with that? You can see come to tool, go to database engine tuning advisor to get some recommendation. So you use this to tune the query that maybe SQL Server Profiler has captured. So I was talking about SQL Profiler. We have event, SQL Server event, external event. We know that this SQL Server is a little bit, like we said, deprecated, but I don't know what other GBA noticed. In my environment, we always use Profiler, even though external event is live and have more metrics, but not GBA always use Profiler. I don't know the reason, but I've been using so much Profiler. One thing you are doing, even though Profiler is really resource consuming, you need to filter when you are using. We really filter to get, because you know what you are looking. Sometimes you have to really to filter so that it should be really light for what you are trying to capture. So another thing that we use as a database administrator is the GMV. GMV is what is just dynamic management view, and it's like just things like this. You see system GM, DB. This is, for example, one of the dynamic management view that I can run on my let me go through my maybe just run one of these. I already get some here. Yeah, for example, if I run this is, for example, is running from sys.os. This, for example, to check my page like expectancy. We have the one that you can check page rate. You have so many of those one. And how do I get to that? Those are the system view that are inbuilt into the SQL Server. So yes, I was talking about dynamic management view. We have SQL Server Activity Monitor. How do we get to SQL Server Activity Monitor? This is the shortcut of it. This is Activity Monitor. If I click on this, you're gonna open this Activity Monitor. I can check the expecting query just by clicking down here, and then it will show the top expected query. Right now, I can't see anything. The recent expected query, you can also get that. We just give some time maybe to still try to collect. And here we can we can see, if you click here, if there is a blocking, actually this is where you can see if there's any blocking by tracking the, let me come back on the process. Here I can see if there's any blocking. I am on the first, let me open this from here. Okay, you see, because I click on this second, we know that we have the blocking here. I've not yet stopped the blocking. Just by clicking here, I can see that we have blocking 60 is the session that have blocked. And this is where you can see the head blocker. Head blocker is 1. So this is the session 60, which is the head blocker. So I can actually use Activity Monitor to track blocking, to track active specific query. You see here now that it can show now. This is how I can see the top expensive query. Select star from person to person. This is actually what we run because I still have that begin trend that is locking the table. There is no way any query can access the table. So that is one way I can get to that. This is the activity monitor, which is a really good tool that you can use. I mostly use this if I am running on SQL Server 2012, 2014. But when I get to 2016, actually, I don't use this much. I use Query Store. As you can see here on a list of inbuilt tools to use, Query Store, I didn't put here. Yeah, this is SQL Server Query Store. How do I use Query Store and why do I like that much? Because Query Store, first of all, you have to know one thing, Query Store at the database level. So I need to activate that. If I have a query, if I have a slow running query, first of all, I need to identify a little bit where the query is. And when if I know what database may be created query, so you right click on this, you go to property. At the property level, you can activate. Right now for this, you see, it's off, it's turned off. So I need to turn that on, read and write, and then I will say, okay. Actually, in your environment, it has to work like that. And if you want now to track what are the issues, then you can now yeah. Okay, issue shown and issue shown. Oh shit, I just need to refresh. Let me refresh. Okay, you see that when I refresh, since we added that, it will come here. Now, if I expand that, you see those are all the things that you can actually track. One thing that you track here is a regressive query. What is a regressive query? Actually, if I have a job that usually take 10 minutes to run, and actually now the job is taking 15 minutes, that query that is running will be stored as a regressive query. So regressive query is the query that has changed the time that it was taking to run for some reason, maybe for resource issue or whatever issue can be, that query will be stored in as a regressive query. So you can get that from a query store. Another one that I really like to track in a query store is the top resource consuming query. If I double click on this, I'm not yet sure. We just give some time. We cannot yet see the top results. This should normally. You should be able, yeah, not yet track. We just give some time again. So actually this, I'm just trying to query from average CPU. Let me update. Yeah, not yet sure. I would like this to show real quick. So you can see how I can track. This is a really, really good tool that you should talk about this when you are talking about slow running query. It tracks top resource consuming query. It can track query with first plan. One thing I want this to show, and I believe that during the time we are talking, it will show, so we can really see how we can use that, because query store, another very good thing on that is that it can track query that are using multiple plan to run. And what you should know is that a specific query should run with one plan, not two plan or three plan. So when queries start running with 2, 3 plan, there is an issue. So you should be able to identify what is the best plan, and query store is one of the two that you can use to force the plan to, you are forcing it, you choose the specific plan you want it to use, and you can use to force the plan to run. So query store can do that. Also, query store, from the query store, you can actually get to the execution plan where you can identify and analyze your query. Man, I don't know why this is not showing. Okay, this is not showing now. Maybe. Okay, so now it starts showing query with statistic. Let me come on the top consuming query. Okay, you see top resource consuming query. We can already see this is our top consuming query here that we can see already. And here is the execution plan that we are seeing down here. Here we can see the plan ID. And we can see that this query is actually using one plan to run. In some case, you will see that it's using 2 or 3 plans. And then you can use query store to choose, you can choose which plan ID you want it to use and force the plan to use to enforce it to enforce the plan, yes. So, and this is the option. So you just need to click on the plan, click on force plan, and it will use the plan that you want it to use to run. So this is a really good tool. I will advise you in the interview to use this as tool that you really like to use for troubleshooting. Another tool that we talk about is error log. Error log, but I don't know if I will just say it's really it's an inbound tool because we get it in SQL Server. And I always hear you guys say, when I set my job, when I come in the morning, I check error log to see if there is a job that failed. Yes, you can check error log because error log actually track anything that is happening. It take anything that is happening in SQL Server, which is you get it in management, and then you go here, and then I can get all the, if I do backup, transaction log backup, if I any error, it will always get it. But you should not, I mean, I'm just saying this, it's better to always say that in your environment, you always configure database mail that will track any issue and send you a mail. Because actually you don't have time to come. Let us say you have 40 servers. Are you going to come in the morning and go on any server and be tracking if there's any issue? Generally, in the real life of GBA, we usually go here when there is an issue. You already start troubleshooting, and then you are trying to go here to see, because you know, when I click on the error here, I can go up and get some more information on what happened. Yes, that is when I'm going here, but I don't come every morning and open all my error log. No, I would like you guys to change that and better say you have database mail that you have in your environment that you use to check on that every morning when you open your mail, you would like to see what are those mails that has failed, because they are saying they will send you a notification through your mail. So, but at least I will just try to let you know how you can get error log. There is an error log at this level, but you also have error log here under SQL Server agent. You got error log here that you can also track from here. So you can track error log here. You also have another one that you can track from here. So this was for error log. SP_, who is active, like I said, is something that you just go on Google. You can tap how to you just tap download SP who was active. You will download, you will run it, install, and you can start using. SP_Wuchu is just actually the same thing that you can use in your environment to track any blocking. Just need to go open. If I have blocking on my second environment, you see that if I go there and I run SP_Wuchu, then I will be able to track anything that is running. If I check blocking here, you probably see this is what is there, and what's the status is suspended. So this is the way, and this is the way you can use SP_Wuchu, how you can use SP_Wuchu to track blocking. And another thing real quick is what? Execution plan. Execution plan is another thing that I will always advise you to use during interview. How you troubleshoot learning query. Never finish without talking execution plan, because actually it helps you. Execution plan can help you to identify missing index. It can help you to know if the query is running on the seek is seek or scan, it can help you a lot. Or how do I know if this is, how does execution plan help me to identify slow running, to identify missing index? Let me real quick go back there. Close this, close that. Let me close this. Let me close. I have a lot of stuff that are open already. I think I have one of the, no, not yet. Okay, let me run this. For example, I have this, run it on the first here. First of all, how do you see your execution plan? I will choose, I'm running this on the Adventure Work 2017. If I want to check my execution plan, what do I do? When I select this, I will need to come and click on this. First, this to activate it before I run the query. So when this gave the result set, it also show you this is actually your execution plan. And what can I see on my execution plan here? You can see here he's telling you missing index, create, and then he's giving you even the statement to create that index. And if I go down here, you can see that the physical operation is what? Index scan. You can see logical operation is index scan. You can see the number of read, 19,000. So that's the number of row that he's reading. So here I can see that it's doing index scan, index scan, index scan, which is not good. So if I want to use it, what execution plan can already help us, how it can help us to analyze a query, then I can come here, right click on this, and then ask him to just a missing index detail, for example. You see, he's giving you the query, how you can create the index to solve that issue. So we can say here that queries execution plan, not only it help you to analyze, but he also help you how he ought to give you some recommendation on how you can optimize the query. So all I need to do here is what? He just asked me to put the index name. So all I will need to remove this, and I can just say, I can just put the name, just say maybe missing. And then you already create non-cluster index, you put the name on, you put the table name, and then include those are the row, the column, sorry. Those are the column that are missing index. So he already get that for you. I will just need to remove this, and run it. If I run, you're gonna create that index for me. So if we go back and run that query, you will see that we don't miss that anymore. Let me go back and check on that. Where is that again? Okay, let me go back and check. Look at that. Here he was missing index on track column. And I'm joining here. I'm joining three table. So he may, the one that I created may have solved for one row. Let me just run it again. Oh, sorry, I didn't check this. Okay. So now it's still missing, but it's missing what? This now is another column. This is on different table. So what do I do? And then look at my execution plan now. It's no more showing the same. So you can see now that here he's doing seek. And when he's doing seek, you see that the number of row read is different from what it was showing before. But it's still doing scan on these two other column. So if I want to do that, what do? I will do the same thing because this is a different table. I will go to this table, do the same thing. I will just add this missing two. Let us say missing two. Create that index. Run it. That is okay. Let us say I stop this just to create state space. Now, if I run the same query, activate this. Sorry, and I run it now. You see, we have nothing now. What do we have here? We have seek here now, and we have seek here now. So we can see here that it's doing, what's the physical operation is indexing. What's the logical operation is indexing. What are the number of rows that is reading is 1,000. Remember, it was having 19,000 before. And then check Azure estimated CPU cost. You will see that he has changed. So you can use execution plan actually to see how your table is performing. Is it doing seek? Is it doing scan? You can check the other stuff like we call key lookup. Actually, what is key lookup? If you have index on the table, and maybe you are calling 4 column, maybe you have 4 column, and you have index only on 1 column, then your execution plan will show a key lookup, which is just telling you that there are some column on that table that are missing index. And what you do is covering index. You guys should know that because we have that in the interview. They will ask you, if I will have a table, you have an index, and all the columns are not covered by the index, what can you see on the execution plan? You're gonna see on the execution plan, you're gonna see key lookup. And how do you resolve it? You just need to do what we call covering index. And covering index is what you will just try to, is the way to add other column inside the index that already exists. You don't need to create another index because you don't want to have so many index, but you just need to add those other columns on the existing index. That's what we call in SQL language, that is a covering index. Okay, so yeah, we talk about this and we talk about the execution plan. So we just talk about all the inbound tools on the OS level. We talk about all the inbound tools on the SQL Server level, but also we have third-party tools that we use to monitor your environment. In my environment, I use Datadog, SolarWinds, and Redgate. But some people use CentralOne, Spotlight, Idera, Hydera. There are so many of them. But you should, now that you guys are looking for a job, choose one. Spotlight, for example, Datadog is a little bit complicated. Really good tool. I've been using it, but really more complicated. I will not advise you too much with Redgate because Redgate have different components. Redgate, there are Redgate for SQL Compare, there are Redgate to monitoring, there are Redgate for project management. There are different parts. When you go to the interview and they're asking you what input tool you use, you see Redgate. He's gonna ask you what component you use in Redgate, and then if you don't know, you'll be stuck. Or how do we use? So Redgate is a little bit more complicated. I will advise you SolarWinds, Spotlight. Go on YouTube, try to see how to monitor environment with Spotlight. You can get some screenshot, try to understand that well, and just be using it. When you go to the interview, you should not know all the tools. People who have worked 20 years have never used some of the tools. Just say, yeah, in my current environment, we use Spotlight. And I really like it because we can say it has a dashboard that it displays all the data, have CPU, memory, and then I also receive a lot of messages from the performance that I can have, like query performance. You just need to get something that you can demonstrate. And they say maybe they are using different things. SolarWinds, you say, okay, I've not used that before, but I've heard about it. And I'm a fast learner. I already know they are all similar. If I get to the environment that are using something different, then I can use that. Get something, try to really understand it, say you are using it, and you can really define it. Because sometimes you can say we use Spotlight. It's a yeah, that's something we are using. So what do you think is good on that? You should have a talking point. You should not just say I use it and you are not able to define it. So take one, try to understand it, study it, and be able to define it of any environment that you go. Okay, so those are actually things that you use to monitor your environment. Okay, let us say now you are in the interview and he asks you a question about how do you troubleshoot slow running query? Look, we already talked about those tools, we use this, we use that, but how will you actually answer to those questions? Okay, I have put some stuff here for you. I would like you, the easier way to answer this is what? You should know different steps on how you troubleshoot. What are the things that you troubleshoot? First thing, when query is slow, I mean, you always start by trying to know what's going on, like what operation are you doing? Is it like store procedure? Is it new query? Is it the job? You can answer if it's developer that come to you or whoever come to you. Just ask it some question. It help you actually, to spot on the answer. But always start, if let us say it's a store procedure or it's a query that are coming. First thing is what you want to know if the issue is from the OS level or from the SQL level. Okay, let me come back here and show you why do I need to know that. Okay, see here, those are some of the issue. Look at some of the issue I have in my environment. When I look at something like this, where do you think that the problem may be coming with this one? This SQL level. Because on the performance dashboard, if I go back to the performance dashboard, like I showed you guys today, I right click on this, go to performance report, performance dashboard. You see here, this is SQL in blue, and this is other is mostly a system, your system resource. You see that here, your system resource dominated, so there's no really there are no hash query. So if I get something like that, I know query SQL Server on his side is good. But when I start seeing something like this on the high transactional environment, that means there are so many queries maybe that are missing index, or there are just a lot of transaction resource are not really, there are so many things maybe going on the database level. So when I get that type of request, the first thing is I want to know where the problem may be coming from, OS level or SQL level. On the OS level, what am I looking? Checking my CPU, my memory, my drive, my network activities to identify any resource bottleneck. I want you guys to get those words. Today, I want you to go out with what we call resource bottleneck. Not that, because this should be now on your network when you are talking about SQL. When you are talking about SQL, let them know that you know those words. So when we talk about SQL, CPU, memory, disk, identify any resource bottleneck, it's when that resource is over your baseline. Those are another word that you should get in your word, SQL word, baseline. What is the baseline? When I get to the environment, and I will first try to identify how my CPU are running, how my memory are running. And notice that during 2 months, my CPU are running between 10 to 20. I can set my baseline to 30. So the day I will see if I have issue, and then I go and I check my CPU, and I notice that it's over 30, that means that it is over my baseline. Something may be happening. Because during 2 months, it has been running for 10 to 20. How can it go for 30? But no, when we say go to 30, it's not like just a peak. If you go to 30 and it stay for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and it keep going up, there is something that has changed in your environment. You need to investigate. So when you have things like performance issue, like slow running query, you need to check those resources, CPU, memory. Try to see if any of those resources are over your baseline. And if it's over your baseline, then you need to troubleshoot that. And we say how we can see those resources. We say we can use Task Manager, we can use a Perfmon to identify your resources, see if they are over baseline. That's one thing. Second thing we need to investigate is blocking and deadlock. Blocking is something normal. You always have blocking because of you will have lock. Anytime you are having insert, update, even retrieving, you will always have lock. There are different type of lock, share lock, different type of lock that we have. Lock is normal, but persistent blocking is not normal. You'll be having blocking 1 second, 2 milliseconds, that's normal. But when the blocking start going to 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, that's no more normal. It will slow down all other queries that are coming to that data, to that table. And actually, if you are slow on your query, maybe due to the blocking or to the deadlock. So you need to, and we already talked about the monitoring tools and how we can track those blocking. We can use external event, you can use profiler to track blocking. And in some environment, like in my environment, I have those monitoring tool, those custom monitoring script that are customized to track blocking, deadlock, and such. So you need that. So during your investigation, if you check your system resource, they are good, you need to check if there is any blocking. If they are good, then you need to go to check indexes. Index is really good, you know, it helps us to speed up retrieving data. But if those indexes are not maintained or up to date, then that's the issue. So during your process on how checking on investigating, you will need to check on indexes. Make sure that the table that the query is running on is have an index, and then that index is up to date. It's not fragmented. During the interview, you have to let them know, in my environment, I always make sure that I have a job, which is index optimized job, that automatically, review, reorganize, and update statistics based on the fragmentation level. So I don't usually have that indexing issue in my environment that much, but you know, I always need to go and check on that, make sure that everything working fine and that part is out of my investigation. Another thing is what? Check your statistic. And one thing I just want to remember, never say it, if they tell you, if you say you are checking index and index is fragmented, don't tell them that you will go ahead and rebuild. Never say it. You will schedule a rebuild because you will never rebuild your data, your index during the work hour. You do this during off hour or during the weekend when everything is calm, because this creates a lot of block in the system, and it also fill up the draft. So this is something to really set it during the off time. So what you can do at that time, if you notice that your indexes are highly fragmented and actually affecting performance, you can check the statistics. Sometimes your statistics are not up to date. You can just try to update your statistics. This can be done during on hour. That's not a problem. It will help. It will really help, but you still need to schedule and rebuild your index to get it right. Another thing is what? Check your jobs. Always say this, because that's when in the environment, let them know that in your environment, you always schedule all maintenance job, like backup, index maintenance job to run during the weekend or off hour. Because if you have backup, full backup, differential backup running at 2 p.m. and at the same time that query are running, differential backup running, full backup running, other side transactional running, you're going to create blocking, you're going to create a lot of issue, because they are not only create blocking, they are using resource, they are using CPU, they are using memory, they are using IO. What's going to happen? Your query will going to run slow. So when you have performance issue, go and check again. Make sure that all the maintenance jobs are actually set to run during off hour, but also you want to make sure that other jobs that are set in that environment are not running all at the same time. In your environment, you can be well set, but maybe you are working for different customer, and when the customer say they are having this issue, you need to go and troubleshoot how their job is set. How are their maintenance jobs set? What time are those run? You will go and identify the jobs. What are the time that transaction run job? What are the jobs that are configured in that environment? What are the time that the jobs are running? Try to put them on different schedules so that they are not all run at the same time, because they are using a resource and they can actually slow down the process and make some query running slow. So another thing is, after the job that you need to check is the review your SQL and database configuration. Okay, you can be very good in your environment. You already get a very good memory allocation, maxed up are well configured, 10 GB are well configured. There is another component that we call legacy coordinated estimation. This is one component in SQL Server. A lot of you don't know about it, but it's really important. From SQL Server 2099 to 2012, this component was running. Let me say from 2014, Microsoft changed on how this component is working, which means that if you do a migration, let us say in 2000, you were running in 2012, and you set on your legacy coordinated estimation. Now you migrate to 2016, and you also set it on, you will have a lot of performance issue because it's no more the same configuration. Or what is this? It predicts a number of rows in query result set. So if you change it, that will affect your query optimizer, and you will have a lot of slow running query. I've get that in my environment, and it takes a lot of time to finally realize that this was the issue. But how do I even get it? Let me just show you. This is at the database level. So if you have migrated a particular database, you right-click, let me right-click, go to property, and go to option. You see that, this is this. You can turn it off, you can turn it on. If it is off on 2012 and you migrate to 2016, keep it off. Because, even though you turn it on, since it was off, that means that your query optimizer was not using that component to run. That's fine. But if it was on 2012, you migrate to 2016, and you keep it on, if they are no more using the same configuration, you will have a lot of issue when you are having query on that data, but you need to turn it off so that it should not use that component to run. So that's something that you will need to check also when somebody call you, you are working for the client, and he's having slow run query. Don't neglect that. Go and check that component. Ask them the question. Did you guys have migration like last month, last week? They will say, yeah, we just migrated from what? They say we migrated from 2012 to 2016, and we see having this issue. This is how you can say, oh yeah, let me check. You can go and just turn that off and say, run your query again, and everything will run fine. So those are the things you need to, you will just take a notice or nothing, but a lot of companies face this. They take a month to troubleshoot. They don't have issue just because they don't maybe think about this. So you have things like that, 10 GB configuration. You should know how to configure 10 GB, because if your 10 GB is not well configured, you may be having a lot of performance issue in your environment. So you need to review your server and database configuration, things like memory, maxdog, 10 GB, legacy coordinate estimation. There are so many, but I just stop here for now. Now, drive partition, okay, those are also some server configuration that you need to do to check. Drive partition, if you are using your data log everything in the same drive, actually you may face performance issue. So those are some of the things you need to check that will help you on investigating slow running query. You need to monitor some counter. We talked about this already on my first presentation. We say we have some metrics like PLA, which is spatial expectancy, which actually tell you how many times query stay in the blank, in the buffer cache before it can be flushed to the disk. We have a buffer hit ratio. We have a lazy write. We have a elapsed time. We have a wait statistic. Those are some. I don't want to stay too much on this because we already talked about those metrics. And there are so many script that you can use to query and get those. You can also use performance counter to performance performance to track all those metrics if you want. You can customize. There is a way to customize this in your environment so you can check those anytime you want. You can do that. Okay, we monitor all those counters. Another thing I will do is what? I will need to identify the slow query. You need to identify the query. What are the metrics that how can you identify query? We already talked about it. You can use performance dashboard to check blocking, wait statistic, talk to resource consuming. You can use activity monitor to check your top resource consuming, blocking, and order. You can use query store to track all the regression query, to track query that are running with different plan, to track your top consuming query, your read or keep lookup. You can check what your estimation operation code. This is with execution plan, of course. So there are so many things that you can actually track. You can use. There are so many things that we need to. There are so many tools that you can use to identify the slot query. Then you can also use SQL Profiler, actually that track all the events that they are occurring in database, and then you can take that to the database training advisor, as I already said, to get some recommendation. Okay, you have tracked the query. You know now what query is actually having issue. You need to optimize the query. Or when we talk about query optimization, what I think you do, you may need to rewrite the query. You know, when we are writing queries, you will see open some store procedure. There are so many portions, so many batch. Each batch is doing something. Some, in maybe one batch is inserting, another is deleting, another is selecting, and they are doing different things. But now, let us say we are having some select statement, or during this select statement, somehow they are using some subquery that you can try to rewrite that a different way. Maybe just change subquery to join, or using CTE where you are using, or instead of using subquery, because with your experience, you know that when you use subquery, for example, what is the subquery? Subquery is just a query inside another. Let us say I say select from this where maybe a column equal, I again select this. When that second select, when you run that query, what happened? The second select you need to complete before you can bring the results that we have the first query to run. We just say it on, if we do a test here, we run fast. But in the real environment, that second select may be going through a terabyte of table. It takes time. So the first select need to wait that second select to be completed before they can run. That can be an issue. But there are different ways you can go around that. You can use a join to avoid that. You can use CTA. CTA is another way where it create a temporal table and run from the temporal table. Not like a temporal. So when you use CTE, it first create, I can say something like a temporal table, and then the second query is calling from that temporal table, just like we talk about join, about view. So you can, those are just what I'm saying. So you can change subquery with join, you can use CTE, you can avoid, well, that's one thing, avoid function in workflows. We have not yet talked about function. I don't want to go through first of this, but I believe that before we finish this, I would like to have one section where we talk a little bit about function and store procedure. And using table variable in place of the temporal table, create materialized view. Why this one? Really important to know. In my environment, we do a lot of report because we have a lot of customers. The report, some of the reports are calling into a terabyte of data. If you are running a report, that will go on that terabyte report, the table, the terabyte of table of row, and you are joining different tables. It can take 20, 30 minutes to get all the results set. But when you create a view, the view already, it will compute and store the result already in. We know that view is what? It's just a virtual table. So when you run it, you does not need to go again and go through all the table, because you already store the result set in a view, in a view, which is just like another table, and that is where your report, your statement for the report will be going and get the query. So we run really more faster than if you want to run that query through all the table and join. So create a material view can be a really way to optimize a query. There's one thing that we call they call hints. One of the hints the most used in the company is no log. We always use this. When you are running a select statement, use no log. When you say select this where, when you use where and you put where you want it to get, put no log. No log is what? Because when you run select statement, it creates what we call share log. What is a share log? Share log with block. Share log with just log the portion that you are trying of the portion of the data that you are trying to read. But what if that time that you are trying to read, you are reading a terabyte of data, and some query are trying to reach that part of the data, they will be blocked. So it always advised in the company that when you get this issue and you are trying to troubleshoot a store procedure, go into that store procedure, see how where flows are being run. If there is not log, use the not log. Some company may not like it. Why? Because not log, when you are saying not log, you are saying that even though I'm reading this, every other query can still need to access that table, which is bad. Why? Because you can do what we call dirty read. So it just depends. Some company does not really want that, because if you are reading and somebody is updating those same table, the results that you will have may be wrong. So I'm saying most companies know, but it's not always on each case. Some case you need to avoid that, but this is the most used in a company, depending on what you are doing. Maybe, let us say in development, you should always use no log. Those are not the real data. So in development and and it is even in development that they have all those really big statements that they are running, where you can actually use this to avoid them to be facing a lot of slowing query, because they will be the one to be calling you all the time that they are having query running slow. Advised to use no log when they are running that query. So another thing is what? Ensure that the select star is not used. We know that when you run select star, what happened? If we call all the column, all those columns may not have index. And let us say you have 50 column and a terabyte of data. It will take a day to come out. Always advise to use the necessary column that they are trying to read. They don't just go and be putting column just because they want to get a result. So there are so many of them: performing table partitioning, adding file group, data compression. And the last thing I would like to say is, when you are troubleshooting query, slow query on the maybe say store procedure that is in different batch, what do? You can run statement on each batch to identify which batch is actually having performance issue. You can have store procedure with 10 batch. You will not just, you can go through, you can change, rewrite the query, but sometimes you don't really know where the problem is. So before you even rewrite the query, you can run them in different batch, and you will identify which batch is really slow. And that is where you will focus your troubleshooting. So yeah, that's a little bit what I get for you guys today on this. I believe it helped, and I'm open to any question you have. What's too much?
Very impressive. So really, thank you. We
Thank you.
continue.
Thank you so much, Sage. I think this was very informative. If it was too much, I don't know who was recording this class. Is it a student or the host?
I was.
Okay, yes, I will need to have that video. So if you didn't catch a lot, there's a lot that Sage has mentioned in this. And if you are able to just pick up these things and summarize it for your performance tuning question, you will always ace any performance tuning question. And I can guarantee you 100% or even 120% that any interview that you are going to go in for, there will be a performance tuning question. Always. They might ask you the question, a developer calls you and say a query is running slow, right? How do you review queries? You know, or what are some of the things to look? I mean, there's so many different ways that they can answer this question. And if you have this documented down, written down in a chronological manner, and start step by step, you will always do it very well in an interview. So thanks so much, Sage. It was really great. I enjoyed it myself. I learned also a lot.
Yep, thank you. Any question? Oh, you need to digest.